and you get things done. Unfortunately, you are promoted. Like, I left to the bank and came to sheriff, and they came at a supervisory level. Now, what I found frustrating is the fact that some things were undone. I was not the one responsible. It's one of my subordinates who failed. Yet they both hold me accountable. And I felt like saying, no, it's not me. It's Kamau. Unfortunately, I was told early. You then, like you'll be saying, I'm seeing in my introduction, you'll be told you can delegate responsibility, but not accountability. Even if your junior failed, you have failed. And I found that very frustrating in 1979. So that's why it's a very important subject to discuss. How to get things done, not by yourself, but do others. So that when you have performed very highly, it's not because you are good at performance, but because you are good at getting things done through others. And it's a very important, very important thing. Unfortunately, a few key supervisors refuse to take accountability. So when things have been discussed in management, they still insist on parenting the failures of their staff to the whole management. Oh no, that one, our people are it's hopeless. And that's been discussed in management. Now, the CEO keeps thinking, the earlier we move this guy, the better. Because he certainly has no ability of getting things done through others. Because obviously that is your responsibility as a supervisor. And that's why it will be very important that we spend quite a bit of time reminding ourselves. I don't think there is anything we'll be saying today that is new to you. But I think the idea of the organization is that we remind ourselves, because even what we know, we tend to act on how you feel rather than what you know. So there is a whole problem between what you know and what you do. You can know what you're supposed to do, but when somebody annoys you, you simply act according. Like one of the subjects which is important, but we're not covering today, is emotional intelligence. Very important subject for supervision. What is emotional intelligence? Unlike IQ, the EI, emotional intelligence, is about the ability to understand your emotions and manage them. And then understand the other person's emotions and act within them. So that when he becomes annoyed with me, and of course you come there. Of course I'm right to be called Amuzé. But you call me that, and I want to be young. So when they are girls around. But then you call me Amuzé. I could act immediately and call you Chow. But if you're a manager, it just shows you have no emotional intelligence. Because I should ask myself, I'm getting annoyed, yes. If I talk out of my annoyance, I'm likely to say something I will regret. So I must control my emotional, although my subordinate has insulted me, I must control my emotional feelings so that what I say will be from my head, not from my heart, not from my emotions. I'm able to correct what I'm saying. Number two, I'm likely to know the reason you are calling me Amuzé is because I told you have done wrong. And you are not annoyed about me embarrassing you before I found you ready today. Now, and you feel this Amuzé. So how can you mean that you don't call me Amuzé? Because I'm spoiling other things that are not in this class. So in the process, if I understand your feelings, I will actually smile after calling me Amuzé. In fact, I will make fun of it. Once, and of course in the public, there will be no fight because it takes two to tango, isn't it? So once I don't engage you like that, it will just be dissipated. Later, when you are just the two of us, I'll ask the young man, what were you up to? And now our emotions are down, we can talk like two adults. And you talk about when you called me Amuzé, was that appropriate? in that thing. And you can sort out. That is what a supervisor is supposed to do. To have emotional intelligence. So that when a subordinate loses his school, it is you that is a supervisor that are supposed to manage your school and his school. And that's really what we are talking about the whole of today. And in the morning, we shall look at supervision generally. Then after tea, I don't know if tea comes earlier, afterwards, after the program here, we shall look at one specific item within supervision called delegation and how to allocate tasks. Because it's very specific as a responsibility of supervision. Then finally, we'll look at another responsibility of a supervisor, which is motivating his staff before we break out for lunch. That's really what we are talking about today. And my hope is that as we do so, you are allowed to stop me anytime. Remember, I said there's nothing I'm saying which you don't know about. So you are allowed to stop me, add information, subtract information. This is not me downloading onto you. I'm a facilitator, not a teacher. So you are allowed to stop me. That gives the list of the issues we shall cover under that subject. We are looking at the objective and purpose, which is one of the things every supervisor must establish. How to lead your team. We'll look at the mechanics and dynamics of supervision, a bit of organizational culture, a bit of organizational structure, a bit of managing versus leading, and finally, how to develop your leadership skills. These are all full subjects on their own. So there is no intention of covering them fully. It's just introducing them, mentioning them, because each one of them, like if you are talking about organizational culture, is if you are doing a master's, that's and I did a master's in leadership. That is a whole semester course. Okay, now we are making it an item within 1 hour. And so it will be difficult for us to actually spend a lot of time. We are supposed to be done by 9:30, which is not very far from now. Anyway, let's try. So let's start with the objectives at that level. Start by saying supervisors are important to save workplace because they are closest to the actual work being done and can address and resolve workers' health and safety concerns. The reason I put that right at the beginning is because petroleum industry is a dangerous industry. It's one of the most dangerous industries to work in. You only need a small fire, a small accident, and you have burnt millions of shillings worth of revenue. So if you are a supervisor, one of the most important requirements for a supervisor is the ability to achieve his objectives safely and securely. So that if you have a good life performance, if you are causing accidents or acting unsafely, obviously the other will move you from the oil industry, the better. That's really one of the things I wanted to emphasize. For you, irrespective of where you are working, all of us must be involved in it. Maybe you can start by reading that. We're all involved.
It's principle for expectation. People tend to live up to the expectation of those they highly respect.
Yeah. We have made several assumptions that your subordinate respects you. The subordinate minds what you say about him. If that is true, please be aware that people tend to live up to the expectation that you have of him. So you start by saying, useless. Kimani, you are useless. I don't know how to doing this company. Useless. Kimani will try to also become useless. Because you expect him to be useless. Then say, Baru, Madam Baru, my friend, I don't know what to do in this company without you. I'm so happy that you ever joined this company. And I say, Aya, the CEO thinks I'm not important. Whichever task you are given, you will work to midnight. Why? You know that you are the force behind performance in this organization. So you act to fulfill that prophecy. So it's important for us as supervisors to understand that, of course, the first thing is to understand that the person care about your comment. If they do, then be very careful what you say and how you say about him, so that he understands what you expect of him. And that will be important. This is where I want to start. There are three levels of supervisors. Three levels of supervisors. Number one is what we call top management. Number two is what we call middle management. Number three is what we call supervisor manager, or that level. These are the people who are directly dealing with most of the staff at supervisory management. Do you run a depot? Do you run a depot? Oh, you have given a hospitality?
Yes.
Okay, so you still have staff in the depot, isn't it?
Yes.
The people that directly roll in your trucks, whoever supervises them, is the guy we are calling supervisory level. That's the level. That's the one who knows, obviously, the oil industry work is to sell petroleum products. Load and deliver petroleum products. That's the basic of the petroleum industry. Now, whoever supervises them is very, very critical. Like I told you, I was in charge of operations. By then I was retiring. And we are not in marketing. But the truth is, when you hear a customer saying that the company is good, who visits the customer most than anybody, most times? Who is the most frequent person to a customer? What's the title, job title? The driver. Would you agree with me?
Yes.
Yeah, the driver. So when we are talking about good performance, you mean the driver performed well. When you say the company performed badly, who performed badly? The driver. So you can see, these people at this level are the most important if you are going to talk about for the purpose of the technical side. What is technical? The mechanics of getting things done in that industry. And for them, you can see what we are saying, the squares are giving you relationship of value. That a lot of his importance and what matters to him most is the understanding of how drivers work, how loadings are done, how deliveries are done. That level of detail, the technical detail, is the most important at that level. However, equal to that is human relations. His understanding of human behavior, his understanding of how to inspire people, his understanding of how to manage people is as important as the technical. Because he's not the one doing it, but he must know either equal to or even more than the person doing it. In other words, although he's not a driver, he must understand what it means to be a driver. That will be very, 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 very important. And it's a critical thing. That's what you need to understand. So you need to ask yourself, where am I fighting at? If I'm operating there, if I'm interviewing for a person who is operating at this level, the most important thing in the interview is to establish his level of knowledge of the technical issues related with the job at hand. Number two, and that is very easily forgotten, is to start thinking about, does he know how to deal with people? Because what you normally do is, if you are a cook and you are very, very good at making eggs, you are the best chef. I think there is a chief chef and a
sous chef.
Whatever. I'm not very sure on this one. This example can be corrected. But I'm assuming there are many in the kitchen, many cooks in the kitchen. Then the boss, he is called a chief chef, isn't it? Now, who is going to become the chief chef? The guy who knows how to make eggs best. Unfortunately, the guy who knows how to make eggs best may not know how to manage others. So when you make him a chief chef, you destroy your kitchen. Can you see how important this is? Because you easily think that you should take the best driver to become the supervisor. Because they are not aware the job of a driver and a supervisor are not the same. Once he has not been a driver to become a supervisor, the critical issue will be not just knowing how to drive, but also how to supervise people, how to manage them. And that's why I put them at this level. You can see in my own estimation, there are 3 things you require in supervision: technical ability, human relational ability, and conceptual ability. What's conceptual ability? The ability to think through what needs to be done, the ability to plan, the ability to be proactive. For this level, their job is to do what the company has agreed needs to be done. They still have to use their brain, but that's not what they are paid for. Now, if you are in this meeting, I'll have to correct my words because it sounds very bad. But you know, when I joined the oil industry, we used to call them in the CPA books. You have the CPA. There used to be the loading hand. I don't know whether it is still that CPA book still has it. The loading hand, the clearing hand. They are called hands.
The minimum wage.
Have they been changed?
Yeah, they are a bit better now.
Yeah. You know, so I said surely. So when you ask somebody to think, he told you, I'm only paying for my hands. Because that's what the CBA book, you know what the CBA book is. The agreement with the union. So the job description here is called a hand. So his work is to use his hand, not his brain. So even the immediate supervisor, the work is not the brain. Somebody else needs to think for him and tell him what is needs to be done. At the supervisor level, it is him to actually get things done. The thinking, the changing, the dreaming must be done somewhere else. If you actually start involving him in the thinking, soon enough there will be a problem at the actual supervision. Because he does not have the time. Like if you are supervising loadings, the loadings are coming at any time. Is there time to sit back and think? Not the whole day. So he is not paid for that level of conceptual thinking. So somebody else must be held responsible. And some of the accidents that happen on the ground at the loading depot are happening because of the bigger person refusing to think and give clear instructions. So that needs to be understood at whichever level you are. It will be important that you understand that one. So each one of them has to have technical, the human relation. You can see technical is understanding the details of how things are done. Human relation is understanding how your team is working, how the human beings behave. Conceptual is think about the why. Why do we do things like this? How much better can we do it? That's not his main responsibility. Let's come to the top. This is what you call the management team or the leadership team. I don't know what you call it in your company.
Heads of department.
You call it what?
Heads of department.
Yeah, when they meet, what do you call their top meeting? Where the CEO is the chairman.
Management meeting.
It's called management meeting. So they are the management team. Now that management team is what you are calling top management. You can see some changes. Their guy or people in that team do not need to know how you load. They may not even know how you put the hose, the rolling arm, it's called. I'm assuming you are in the industry, you understand the terms. And they don't even know how the rolling arm is put inside and how to extract loading. You know, and how you can get a spark without any source of fire, simply by the way you know. At that level, in top management, they don't know and they don't need to know. That is not their main responsibility. So you can see, I'm saying technical needs to be very low. Their main task is thinking, conceptualization, dreaming. They get reports of what is happening on the ground and then ask themselves, how much better could it be done? They are paying a salary for using their brain. And when you have a management team whose job is they are happy nothing is going wrong. That's what they are happy. Nothing is going wrong. So I'm a good manager. They are stopping to use their brain. But they are paid to always evaluate, yes, this is the way we did it. Is there a better way of doing it? And that's what they should do continuously. That's what they are paid a salary to do. Conceptualization. Being proactive. Let me now give you an example of promoting the wrong guy. The technical guy. And you take him through the ladder until he becomes the hotel manager. He was back to my kitchen. He was so good at making eggs that everybody used to come for breakfast in the hotel because of the kind of eggs he made. So the guy was made a chief chef. And everybody is talking about the eggs. So he is made the hotel manager. You know what is right to do? Every morning, because he knows his fame is in eggs. Even as a hotel manager, every morning he passes through the kitchen. Then he hears that they are making eggs. It's not like him. So as a hotel manager, he will move aside. He starts making eggs. In the meanwhile, suppliers are in his office waiting for him. And so somebody says, sir, somebody is waiting. Tell him to wait. This hotel moves to go to the kitchen. So for the next 2-3 hours, he is busy in the kitchen. What happens to the supplier? He decides he will never supply them again. That guy has no respect for me, I will never supply. Then clients, there's a tour. The guy has come to enter to a deal. He says, what do about it? They decide the tourists will not come to this hotel anymore. Within a period of 6 months, 1 year, the hotel closes down. What is the problem? Promoting the egg maker. Who did not change from an egg maker. Even when he became the CEO, he was still the egg maker, whatever you call making eggs. That's one of the things you have to watch out. Do not promote somebody technical. Give him a additional salary. The better he does it, give him more salary. Let him even earn as much salary as the CEO, but don't make him a CEO. Because if you do, you destroy the organization. You know, they tried it in the hospital. When they were fed up with all kinds of things going wrong in the paracetamol, they made the HR guy the CEO of Kenyatta Hospital. What happened? The doctors, the professors were happy now. Why have you made a guy who knows nothing about theater to become the CEO? You know, within no time, that guy transformed Kenyatta Hospital. And he doesn't, because you don't need, look at my future, you don't need as much of the technical. You need to appreciate what is happening. You need to appreciate theater, but not the items required in the theater. There is somebody in charge of that department. You know, one of the things I remember about the guy is a way of motivating people. One of the places people really complain about is the mortuary. Because in the mortuary, everyone is the last item. They say Kenyatta Hospital is terrible. Imagine how we are treated when our guy died. So he actually went to where the mortuary attendants sat with them and asked them, what's wrong? What can we do to improve? And they said, because here, nobody cares about us. Even the way we dress, everybody can see these are people who deal with the dead bodies. Says you go to a bank, you want to get a loan, they ask you, what do you do? I deal with the dead bodies. No, the loan will not come out. This is what you do. Can give you for a title. That's something like last rights manager, you know? Nothing to do with dead bodies. Something that talks about the relationship. You know, it doesn't cost anything. He changed their titles. Then he says, in between, waiting for people, we idle with dead bodies around us. So he decided he needed to have a budget. He took the TV that was in his office and he gave it to the mortuary people. He changed their uniform. Within no time, the mortuary department was transformed. At all, I will not do anything wrong. That's the way mortuaries are. But you get somebody else who thinks about human beings, and the whole organization starts changing. And I'm saying all that to understand that at the top level, the most important thing is conceptual and equal to it is human relations. To be a CEO who is technically qualified, understands all industry design, its marketing, its operations, its everything, but does not know how to relate well with people, is to kill the company. So, it will be important to understand human relations are the critical thing, not the understanding of how the mechanics of the things work. However, we now are left with the middle. And the middle is a difficult place to be. Because in the middle, everything matters. Why? The middle management are the people who are supervising this technical stuff. So they must know equally about that. If for example you are an engineer, manager, sure you might know something about engineering. If you are supervising an engineer, you must also know something about engineering. That's not at the top. That is now at the middle level, because you are the immediate supervisor. So you must, if you are in HR and you know the middle management, you must understand how to prepare CBA, how to negotiate with the unions, the trade unions. That needs to be understood. But then you also are supposed to explain to this group what the top said. So you must get a level of understanding of the ideas coming from the top management and understand them well enough to be able to explain to the middle guys. And yet, the human relations is equally important. That now tells you must establish, as we discussed today, where are you? Because depending on where you are, the importance of your job, or rather the importance of the three items, technical, human, and conceptual requirements, will actually change. Any question or comment?
So just to interpret this to our context,
Yeah.
our structure is flat, it's a flat structure. And in our organogram, more or less, whatever we talked about, the heads of department are more like top stroke middle.
Okay.
Because we are technical.
You are so flat.
We are so flat.
That the middle is almost going to the bottom.
No, the middle is going to the top.
Okay.
So as a HR, I'm a business partner. I need to understand exactly what happens at the stations. So my technical has to be at 100, my human element at 100, my conceptual at 100. Same as retail, administration, supply, and business development, finance. I don't know if you all agree.
So you're on the two levels.
We are like two levels. The middle level is matched to
It's matched with the top.
So at the end of the day, the retail manager has to have 100% understanding and the technical expertise to interpret it to the station manager.
Okay.
And the station manager not to interpret it to now the
My guess.
academy.
Okay. You were about to say something.
I was just adding on that to the supervisor, then under the supervisor, now we have the technical.
Okay.
So the top management has about much weight on all the elements
Okay.
we discussed.
You wanted to say something, engineer?
Mr. Nganga, I was thinking, I think you started your introduction with the fact that you have started with Shell in 1979. I started with a construction company in 1982.
82.
82.
Then you are just about management.
I haven't started with management.
Okay.
The question that I have is, in my experience, which I think could be yours, is that the guy here at the bottom, while driving or making eggs, can still take time at night and on the weekend to go to university and do his or her bachelor's and go to the same level of education as the guy there at the top while he's still doing the egg.
Yeah, true.
And my experience was that the guy who started at the bottom and who upgraded himself in terms of knowledge and experience can go at the top and they perform better than those who just jumped from university to that level. I've never been there and doesn't have an idea of what is going on at the bottom. That was my experience.
No, you are right. I have not tackled that subject, but it's good you have introduced it. How do you end up in either level? That's the subject you are dealing with. I have not dealt with it. I was assuming an existing organization and talking about the various levels. You have not introduced. It matters how you entered there. I was in Ethiopia, I was covering Ethiopia, and when Eritrea war broke, our thing of the type of logistics, we used to receive in Addis Ababa fuel from Eritrea. That's where the port. Remember, Eritrea was part of Ethiopia. Mm-hmm. So basically, their port was the port of Eritrea. So Eritrea just broke it. Right. So we quickly had to find a way of going to Djibouti to get supplies to Addis Ababa. And I still remember flying to Addis Ababa to talk to the head of railways. There was an Addis Ababa Djibouti railway that was simply idle because we were using the Eritrea route. Now, he told me something I've never forgotten. He told me it is true we are at a capacity in railways, but our problem is something called parachute. I told him, I've never heard of parachute. What is it? He told me parachute in government organizations is the idea that that top position is not chosen on the basis of competence. This one goes, another parachute lands. You know that the current one is a former partner. When he came back, he was not the CEO of Djibouti, Ethiopia Railways. But he knows nothing, which is the point he's making. He knows nothing about how the railway works. And he also knows that within 4 years, it's a contract. He also got a parachute somewhere, so the organization. And then I remember our Kenya Railways, and it was the same. You get a guy from nowhere, he comes top of railways, and he knows now. I still remember going to argue with the CEO of Kenya Railways, who just, when our railway was performing down. All the years in oil industry before I retired, it was on the way down. It was getting worse with every year. So the Kenya Shell decided, or rather recommended, that we decide. Because one of their major things was wagons go out and repair and they are left. So within no time no wagons for LPG, no wagons for fuel oil, mainly because petrol and product was fuel moving on okay. So we offered as Kenya Shell to invest our own money in the auction to get wagons repaired as long as they will be painted with the name of Shell and Shell alone will use it. Number one. Number two, that we pay ourselves the repair costs by a discount of certain amount. In fact, we said 50% until we pay our money. Signed, agreed. A parachute landed. And he just said, wait a minute, there must be a deal between the business development department of Kenya Railways and Shell. Money, pesa lazima, imetumika. Money must have changed hands. For what he doesn't understand Shell, that Shell cannot be the multinational, cannot be involved in such other activities. Before he knew it, he just removed the discount. I went there. And I told him, please, sir, before you make your final decision, please talk to your business department manager. By that time, the business manager has already been suspended. So he told me, the contract is there. I don't need any advice from anybody. So, you know, you look at the contract never answers the question, why did you decide this? You see a discount. But not why Malaysia is there. It's not part of it. And he doesn't want to ask. So he made an assumption that there must be a problem. That's how they finally, he just stopped. It's share money. We have to explain it. So we could not repair any more hours. Although by that time we had manufactured a new wagon in workshop in Harare, and I already been able to be joined together, so we already having a wagon. We had done. That's exactly what you're saying. That if somebody goes to the top, who are not part of the bottom, there is a great possibility that if he is lazy-minded, he will sit and not learn anything. And therefore, you remember, the technical is not zero. It's not zero. It's not high, but it's not zero. If he doesn't want to know even a little, he will mess up. So the same way, a chef, egg maker, who rises without understanding what he doesn't know, will also mess up. So I'm trying to agreement with you. It doesn't matter which is which. That picture matters. You must know all the three things. So whether you can, so your ability is not whether you parachuted, but that after parachuting, you do not know your weakness and try to work on them. I think that's what you are saying. And I agree with you fully. So it matters. So don't just assume because I give an example of the guy who goes to the top.
Bottom up.
Yeah, bottom up. Okay, because bottom up, okay. Don't assume that is wrong and the other one is right. It doesn't matter which way you work. Anybody must respect. Remember we say human relations is the ability to work with others. And so it will be very, very important that you are able to learn from your subordinates what you need to learn. Okay, anybody else with a question or comment? Sorry. Anybody else?
So, for instance, our sector is energy, right? What's the best form of management?
What's the best?
Form of management structure we can use in the energy sector?
You are thinking in terms of, not this one, but now you are talking about structure. I'm coming to it. Anybody else? Unfortunately, it's already past the time we were to finish this one. What I've been saying is this. So the notes will be your notes, so you'll be able to see it. So all levels of management require relational skills. That's what you saw finally. You cannot be a supervisor. Let me take you back there so I understand. Can you see? All of them, the human one, technical and conceptual can change, but the human one is required by all of them. The most important skill requirement for supervision is not the technical, it's not the conceptual, although you need also those, but human relational skills. And that will be important. Maybe Kimani, you can read that. Oh, sorry, Kimani. That was Jorobe. Yeah.
Relationships can influence others. I read everything?
Yeah, so you are talking about what does it mean? These human relations, skill, what does it really mean? Read on.
Leads complex groups of people.
In other words, somebody comes who is not like you, who is from another tribe. Their tribe is different. That human relation skill allows you not to be offended by the fact that he is wearing shuka and he is a driver. The shuka cannot stop you respecting him, because you are supposed to look at his ability to drive, not the fact he is wearing sugar. That's what you're leading complex groups. People are different from you. It's a very, very important thing. Not everybody is able. Some people want to lead women. Some people want to lead the men. Some supervisors, you put women under them, and they can't cope. So when you talk about the racial skill, it's the ability to lead people different from you. Lead on?
Inspiring them to achieve beyond their own expectations.
Keep on.
Communicate effectively with a wide range of audiences and has sustained impact with people at all levels. Unites people with diverse agendas by enabling them to see the benefits of cooperation. Creates a learning culture by supporting and promoting development initiatives. Promotes diversity widely workplace.
Yeah, like the engineer is saying, creating an atmosphere where a messenger can become the future CEO by creating a learning culture where people do not feel condemned to the first job, that you are creating developmental atmosphere that encourages people to study, to improve themselves until they can actually be available and competent to handle the top. The other thing is, we are talking about is leading your team. And Madam, you can look at that.
Manage conflicts among your players.
That's one of your biggest responsibilities as a leader. Creating a team that is cohesive. Therefore, you have to know how to manage conflict between your staff. And again, it's for all the three levels. Lead on.
Accommodating, in some cases, the most effective course of action, I guess, to give the difficult employee what he or she wants. For example, an employee who complains about a loud coworker can simply be moved to a different location.
Yeah. In other words, when you see a conflict, go behind it to find out. Maybe this guy likes to work quietly. The other one is noisy. Of course, you can tell this guy to be less noisy. But the way God created him, he can't help but be noisy. So find out how can you work out this thing out. Next.
Collaborating. Right?
So the first thing is accommodation. You accommodate the noisy guy because you know he is competent and that he is not being rude. That is his nature. So you accommodate him. That's why I was solving a conflict. Accommodate him. Find a way of putting him, maybe a soundproof. Well, if he is noisy, nobody else can hear him. Whatever. But accommodate him. That's one way of dealing with the problem. When people are having your team is having a fight. Number two,
collaborating.
This is a new way of dealing with the problem. You know?
Rather than choosing a right or wrong, you ask people who are in conflict to work together, bringing all of their strengths to the table.
Yeah. In other words, part of the reason why teams have problems is because two people are competing. You need to talk to them until you find them that if you work together, both of you are going to gain. So there is a reason for collaboration. And the problem will be over. Once they are not competing, they are collaborating for both to win what you call win-win situation. You are in business and you are moving on. You have sorted out your problem. Read down to see that.
Okay. Avoiding. From time to time, issues arise that will resolve themselves without any intervention at all. When that's the case, because the issue is time limited, the employee will be transferred or some other resolution is on the horizon. The best choice might be to sit tight and wait it out.
So avoiding means you can see the problem, but you don't think there is any value in dealing with the problem. You avoid. That's what you're talking about. So you create a new change that allows the issue not to be dealt with. You know, collaboration means the problem is still there, but you have started the attitude to continue working together. Avoiding is a little different. Then go to the next.
Compromising. Can you resolve the conflict by giving each individual part of what they want? For example, it might be possible to give equal access to an in-demand resource to two employees at different times.
Yeah. And the next?
Competing.
I meant competing, yeah, go ahead.
Whose idea is really the best to find out, some managers ask the individuals in conflict to research and present their ideas so that they can select the option that's most likely to be successful.
The reason why there is a conflict, one thinks my idea is good. No, it's not as good as mine. Again, sometimes you have no alternative. You cannot go for a compromise idea to the detriment of your company. You may have to research and find out what the best idea is. And even if it's going to annoy one of the staff, you still pick the very best, as long as you can demonstrate to the one who has lost that this idea was better than the other one. You have still dealt with the issue, but you have to convince him that you are not picking the idea because the guy is from your tribe. You are picking it because it's really a better idea. The next thing, so we know about how to lead your team. The first thing is resolving the conflict so your team can continue being cohesive. The next one is motivating and supporting your team, and we'll come back to it. Jeroge?
Yes, motivate and support your team. You are the team's chief motivational speech maker and cheerleader. The person who cheers when a team member succeeds keeps the team moving forward and applauds even a partial success.
That's one of your biggest responsibility, to catch your people doing something good. Unfortunately, our traditional way of supervision in Africa, you feel you are a good supervisor when you catch the thief. So you're always trying to see, and you are, I told you. I gave you instructions, you are told. Now, embarrassing people sounds like you're a good supervisor. I'm saying, if you really want your team to do well, please catch them doing something good. Just find someone out the way you are doing it, and let everybody hear how happy you are with the way you found somebody doing good. Of course, if it's the only one doing good all the time, people might start suspecting you. When you catch the bad guy doing something good, because if he really bad, you're bad, isn't it? So if he is still there must be something good he is doing. Catch him doing good and commend him. That will change his viewpoint. He thinks everybody hates him. So when you recognize him doing something good, he knows he is a part of the team and it matters. Read on.
You are also the person who represents the team to higher management when they are getting less than their fair share of resources or compensation.
Yeah. You are the MP. We have just gone through elections. You are the MP of your staff. When you are in management, you must talk well of your staff. Avoid talking evil of your own staff. You know, you have no idea that in management, one of the people listening is the cousin of the aunt of the uncle of one of your staff. Somewhere in a family meeting, someone will say, hey, sorry, I know you're going through a hard time. I say, what do you mean? Oh, I know about what you did. And you thought it's confidential. You are talking to management. Nobody will ever? No. In fact, the aunt or the cousin or the uncle did not actually intend to tell him. He was telling the mother of the boy. But the mother told the boy. And you end up with a lot of trouble in your team. Avoid talking negatively about your staff. In other words, it's your responsibility to manage your problems, not to delegate them upwards. Am I communicating? Yes. So you feel I still remember one time now I was in top management, and there was somebody in my middle management who was doing very well. And you know when you are doing bonus, you're working out bonus. Each person was going, because the company says the bonus available is only this much. So all departments have to fight for that bonus. So it depends on the management team getting convinced that this guy is so exemplary, he can get the bonus. So I kept talking about the guy until the CEO said, wait a minute, Nana, don't you have your work? That guy seems to be doing your work. Now that's what people fear. Because you see, if you keep talking about the stuff and get people to get the impression they don't require you. So in order to remind them they require and keep talking about the stuff. So you need to be careful in your supervision to find a way of talking positively. about them. You are the MP. And sure enough, the guy I was talking about now has proved himself. He's in top management of Vivo. He was taken off from Shell when Shell was bought by Vivo. Now he's in top management. In fact, the CEO, both the CEO and the guy in charge of operations were in my department, the current CEO, in the management team. While the guys that used to say are junior then, 15 years ago, and doing very well. So are they doing that well? Now it has been proved I was right. So it's important to don't lie, tell the truth, but there's something positive you can say about almost anybody in your organization. But you have to force yourself. Why are you laughing?
The last remark
The
was,
force
if you have forced
yourself.
yourself,
Force yourself.
Yeah. Now, but are these things real? Am I discussing real things?
yes,
Accurate.
That's what we all are.
Good for life, man.
These are real things.
those if
No, now it's you now.
Maybe just to ask.
Now, so we are talking about the responsibilities of,
You're saying something.
or we are asking questions. We are still talking about the responsibilities of a supervisor. We are about conflict resolution. We have talked about the ability to motivate them. Now we are going to talk about the ability to give them feedback. But before then, say something.
It was me.
Who was
I was reacting to
Sorry, you are neighbors. Go ahead.
the last statement whereby we have to speak positively
Yeah.
about our
Staff.
Yes,
Yeah.
because I was just thinking, if there is nothing positive to speak, you should not be having this person.
Yes, should have had
You should have had. So this person, no matter probably
how many wrong things?
the wrong things, there has to be something good.
True. But again, you realize your personal interest is to start preparing management file. That's why you are tempted to speak negatively. But it's not a good idea. That's why I told you in my introduction the requirement for emotional intelligence. That means you are suppressing your feeling. It's not comfortable, you are suppressing it. Because your better mind tells you it's not appropriate in this place. Keep talking.
Give them feedback. Positive feedback strengthens performance. People will naturally go to the extra mile when they feel recognized and appreciated. Start team meetings with congratulations to individual teams. Team members who have achieved specific goals.
Now remember, you are not talking about the management meeting. You are now in your team. So here you have because even the people know the truth. They are in your team. Pick something about somebody. In each meeting, have somebody as part of the meeting you are appreciating. Then people, one they realize you are not mentioning them because you are trying to make her your girlfriend. They see over time you are independent, that is real. Everyone won't be mentioned. So they all be looking for opportunity to be positively mentioned. And you know when it's among peers, you feel very nice. That today it was me being mentioned. So remember you have to study your people. Because if you say something positive about a negative thing, you have lost your credibility. It must be real. Something positive about it, because the others know about it. But then you are appreciated. That will be very important. Read on.
Be sure team achievements are recognized in corporate newsletters.
Yeah, so basically, you tell them in the team, then you also, if you have a company, do you have a company newsletter? Does Ego have some newsletter that talks about what is happening, who got a baby, what?
There is a process.
Do you have a?
We are making one.
Sorry?
We've started making.
You are starting one. Good. Now you can see the things to say. Take a picture of the guy who did a good thing and let it appear in the newsletter. And it has been mentioned in the meeting. Because you see, as soon as the person, you meet that guy is like that, you require the rest of the department to actually understand why you are mentioning. Keep going.
Celebrate milestones with a special recognitions that can range from lunch or the gun or to progress requests and requests.
Yeah, it's you to decide. That's all under giving them feedback. Let them know. You know, we'll come back to it, the very mentioned at this stage. There is a way people wait for the staff annual appraisal. Am I right?
Yes.
And unfortunately, some bosses say nothing to you until they drop a bombshell in the annual thing. They write so negatively. And you ask, why did you tell me in January? They are referring to something that happened in March, and they are telling you in December or January. That's a great weakness. Whoever is not getting a bonus should know in March. Why? If they know in March, they will work hard to change. The idea of feedback is to improve the person, isn't it? So tell him in March, because in March, he might do something for the rest of the year that will change the score. Am I right? But if you tell me at the end of the year, I have failed, there's no room for that year. There's no bonus. I think it will be very, very important that you take that point seriously. That in this, we still want feedback. That feedback has to be the annual one, the weekly one, the monthly one, continuous feedback, both positive and negative. I only mentioned the positive, but the negative has also to be mentioned. That is what we agreed. You haven't been able to do it. What help do you require for you to be able to perform? I don't think we'll spend a lot of time on that because we are run out of time. But this is very important, organizational culture. HR, you can read for us. After all, that's part of your deliverable.
Yeah. A system of shared assumptions, values, and beliefs.
The key word there is assumptions. When something becomes a culture, nobody debates it, it's assumed. And that takes time. Like now, the engineer who is new, it will take him a bit of time to realize here, you don't ask questions about this. For example, he realizes in this team, when the CEO enters the lift, nobody else joins him in the lift. Where he came from, they all went there, you know, with the Now, in this culture, the way to show the CEO you respect him, nobody else enters. My first job, I was working on the 18th floor of a building. So they have the highest in Kenya, in the 70s, among the highest. Kenya Conference Center had just been built, but our building was among the highest. So, if you entered, and he was called executive director, if he entered, all of us moved, and the guy went up, it was a total change of culture. When I went to share, and I found the CEO can come and sit in my office, and I'm a junior person, there's many, many levels above us. But when he needs something, because I was a business analyst, when he needs something, instead of going through the whole process, he comes and says, John, how he has work, what he's doing. That graph, because you see there are a lot of computers in the 70s. So it's me drawing graphs for his board meetings. The same way we draw in school. That's the way I used to draw them, to show the trends. So he sits there and says, can you adjust? Another CEO talking to me. Then I call him Mr. Morioki. He said, no, I'm not Mr. Morioki. That's why I'm friendly. What are you? Oh, you must call me Nick. From my area culture. And this I would say, he's in grey hair, my young man. I was in my 30s, I found it very difficult to call him Nick. But took within 1 or 2 years I learned. In Shell, nobody is sad. Even now I have a problem calling anybody sad. Because it was an insult to call your boss sad. You are supposed to be a team of people working together. But it takes time. So you need to understand it. That's what you're talking about culture. You can see the difference in it. Maximum organization, the government facilitator with the parachutes. Now there's a certain culture. When you went another culture change. When I was for a facilitator, I never saw my performance appraised. You see what salary increases, but you have no idea what they say. The final file was top confidential. So you can get fired, you can get promoted, you have no idea why. I went to Shell, and my first hardest thing that allowed me to sweat was writing the appraisal for my staff. And they're asking questions. And even the form allows them to respond back. All the posts I said is trash. It is not true. And he's writing on the form. Hey, I came from where? Whatever the form says, Right? Now that's what I'm calling culture. Can you see the difference in culture? That's what you're talking about. It's the responsibility of HR to move culture and not to make it. It's all of us who must make culture. And it's important because a culture can kill your organization. Another one can make it work. Read on.
Organization culture, which governs how people behave in organizations.
Go on.
These shared values have a strong influence on the people in the organization and dictates how they dress, act, and perform their jobs.
Yeah, like when we worked without a tie. Oh, what's wrong with you today? You have no uniform. Except the way you are to wear uniform in school. The tie was our uniform. Now these days, people can come in a t-shirt and they are going to work. Now that's a change of culture. Would you agree with me? I don't know what the ego culture is, but I'm not quite, at my age, I'm not quite happy with t-shirts. But because you need to look like you bothered to know where you are going. You know, you are not going for a tour anyway. I think that will be important too. But that's I wish we had enough time to talk about this. Read on.
Types of organizational culture. Adhocracy culture, the dynamic entrepreneurial creates culture.
Yeah, you can have a culture where everybody's idea matters. Everybody's thinking about how can you improve, what can you. That's a culture that allows everybody and like an entrepreneur. It's not that just the CEO is an entrepreneur. All of us, our ideas, how to improve, how to get more customers. And we can have a culture that allows that kind of thing. Second culture.
Clan culture, the people-oriented, friendly, collaborate culture.
Yeah, here, it's like we're having the grandfather meeting. The CEO is a grandfather. This is our clan. Nobody is allowed to criticize another. Nobody should hurt another. We are at peace, we are one family. And it has its own strengths and weaknesses. We don't have enough time to go through it. Number 3.
Hierarchy culture, the process-oriented, structural control culture.
Here is my first job. The CEO is there to meet him. You can work there for 5 years. You have never met him one-on-one. That is hierarchical. You must know your place. So if you go ask him questions, they ask you, and who are you? To answer that question, because it matters. But you as HR has already told me, it is flat. Flat means anybody can talk to everybody.
Market culture, the result-oriented, competitive, compete culture.
Yeah, and that sounds like yours is likely to be going to what? That one. Go on, it's still the culture.
How to choose the right organizational culture for your business, the first one. To determine the most appropriate culture, consider your organizational goals.
Yeah, so depending what you want to achieve, there's no, among the 4 cultures, nothing is better than the other. It depends on what you are aiming at achieving. Number 2.
Your team's working styles.
Yeah, you can force a certain culture on people, but the way they work, they can't fit there.
The changes your business is going through.
Yeah, the atmosphere, the environment may force you to change your culture. Because if you stay with the old one, you will be certainly thrown out of business.
To succeed in today's labor market, regardless of the organizational culture you choose, provide a positive employee experience.
And be agile. In other words, whatever culture you choose, you are likely to lose. You know, you hear I work for Shell from 1979 until I retired in 08. One organization. The good thing, of course, is large. I work in and out of the country. But these days, to find a young man who has worked for ECO from the time the day one started to do now, you have to go through the files. Am I right? Am I right? You are not really to answer. Yes. How long have you worked for ECO?
It's going to 2 years now.
Yeah. How many? 5? 1 month. Just like the engineer.
I attended.
How many?
10 years.
I attended.
So your man was here.
He was there.
He was there. Now, that is, and it's not people. I consult for several organizations. That's now the same thing. Something has changed now in the external culture, not the inside culture, the external culture that is forcing the internal culture to also change. And that's really what you're talking about. So you must, because of the external culture today, you must be agile and willing to change. Don't say that's the way the founder decided. Now we don't have enough time. Because of that, you decide your structure. Engineering can read about the structure, our national structure.
Organizational structure is one, the method by which work flows through an organization. So it allows groups to work together within their individual functions to manage tasks without making.
So when you say structure is who does what and who does the other, how do they relate? So, and you can do it in any one of the following ways. Read them.
Types of organizational structure are hierarchical organizational structure.
We talked about that.
Functional organization structure.
So you decide your department on the basis of function. Production, marketing, whatever. You divide on the basis of function.
Horizontal or flat organizational structure.
That's what HR said you assess.
Divisional organizational structure. Matrix organizational structure.
And Shell tried that before I retired. Matrix, it means you have many bosses. You are doing one job, on one aspect you report to this guy, on the other one you respect to this guy. Now if they are appraising you, all of them have to contribute because you are reporting different. Matrix is the new in thing that has its own challenges and complications. Keep on.
Team-based organizational structure.
A network.
Network organizational structure.
Now that we shall discuss after in the last. But please note the questions because a way of me seeing what your feelings are about the subject of the role. You're talking about these are the characteristics you like about your best supervisor. He doesn't have to be in the current organization, but I want you to tell me what you thought, who you think is the best supervisor who has ever supervised you, and what did you like about him or her. Then list the characteristics you hate about your worst supervisor. I was supervised so and so, he was terrible. I would never want anybody to work under him. What did you like about him? Number 3, describe the characteristics of a good subordinate. Now, earlier you are the subordinate. The next 2 questions, you are the supervisor. And you know, a supervisor has a right to say, that candidate, I would never want so and so to be brought to my department. Why? Who is this? What is the characteristics of a good subordinate? And what is the characteristic of a bad subordinate? That way, those are the issues that you have to go through in your mind in order to prepare yourself for supervision. Now, I don't think the rest of the information, I wanted us to talk about how to lead. I wanted to compare leading and managing. The 3 are different. I told you management, like you can see right from that, the essence of management is stability. The essence of leading is change. So, as a manager, you could turn yourself to a leader. Or as a leader, you could turn yourself to, the 2 are totally different. Because leading is going ahead of people and people really following. It cannot be called leading if people are going to follow you by mass. That's why leaders have followers, managers have, look at the picture, managers have subordinates. A leader has no subordinates. They have followers. And that's where the trouble comes, because if you choose the leading style rather than managing style, it means people have to so admire you that they will do what you tell them because they are happy to do it. They trust you. If you are a manager, yes, you do what I tell you, or you fail to do it at your own risk. That's a manager. A A manager has authority, these are subordinates, they do the things that have to be done. Again, you can see that's a full subject. We can't handle it here. But I want you to go on your own, go through it, and tell yourself, am I a manager or a leader? Number two, there are times during a crisis, you don't become a leader, you become a manager. Because if you start negotiating, there's no time to get people to accept you, to know you. You tell them to jump, there's no time to ask you why. You only ask, how high? That's a manager. A leader will never ask people to do something before they understand why they are doing it, because they are following willingly on their own. And unfortunately, we don't have enough time to go through it. How to develop leaders? So if you want to be a leader, these are the issues. Strategic thinking. You must improve on your strategic thinking. You must improve on your planning and delivery. You must improve on your people management. You must improve on your change management. That's one of the most important things currently. Things are changing quickly. You have to be somebody who is able to adapt and change. And you must be good in communication. Leaders are good in communication. And you must be good at persuasion and influencing. These are the skills you must, of necessity, develop. And then, ways to develop yourselves, practice, discipline. A good leader means discipline. You can't be, my children used to call it the D word. When I say children, our last born finished university in 07, just before I retired. So they are no longer can accept our term children. But when they were young, they used to talk about the Papa's D word. Because I'm saying you can't, discipline is doing what needs to be done, even if you don't feel like doing it. That discipline. My friend, was one of the most important manager requirements. You don't do what you feel like doing, you do what is right to do. And you need to develop yourself in that area. Again, you don't have the time to talk about all these things. You take all more projects. When you hear there is a special project, offer to lead it. You know, projects are time bound, isn't it? So join, agree to do those projects because they are going to grow your skills in management better than just remaining in your current job. And you could talk about learning to follow. If you are a leader, you need to know how to follow others before you become a leader. Develop situational awareness, inspire others, keep planning, resolve conflicts, be a discerning listener. You can't be a good leader if you don't know how to listen. It's very, very important, and we could go on and on about it. Then I wanted to spend time to talk about the mechanics of supervisor task, and have listed a long list. So I want to stop there. Any question about what we have covered so far? This is a wide subject. This first subject was supposed to be introductory. The others will repeat what we have said, but in more details. Yes.
What's the best form of leadership?
Sorry?
What's the best form of leadership?
It depends on the situation. There is no best form. It depends on your environment and the people you are leading. If, for example, you are leading a group of people who hate you, there is one way of dealing with it, different from when you are leading a group of people who accept you. So you can't use the same attitude, the same way. Unfortunately, our personality makes it easier for us to lead one way rather than another. But if you have emotional intelligence, you will study your atmosphere and choose the leadership style that gets commitment from the group below you. That's a very good question.
So is it...
Welcome back.
Thank you. So is it called situational leadership?
If you like to call it that way. But the thing to remember is, it's not that you don't know there are different ways of leading. It is that, and it's not that you don't know that there's a way you feel more comfortable leading. It is that if you want to achieve things, and I said before you came, management is getting things done through others. So the aim of this relationship is, how can I get things done through this team? So you have to understand them, understand what they are talking about, understand the situation.
And why I'm saying situational leadership is because in situational leadership, it doesn't have to be you leading.
Yeah.
Because there could be somebody smarter in that particular project or situation that you can allow to lead. And then of course there's human-centered leadership.
Yeah.
The principles of human-centered leadership, which allude to the fact that, you don't, the process is also as important as the result. So you don't get people broken because you must.
I agree with all that, but I told you I will not go to any type, because each type.
Not the type. I'm just.
I'm agreeing with you. There is no agreement.
Yeah.
I'm only telling you whichever type, assess it on the basis of the environment, the task that needs to be done, and how you relate with it.
Yeah.
I'm refusing to say one is better than the other.
Yeah.
But I agree with you, all of them have differences and are appropriate to different groups at different times. Who wants to be the last to comment on this first subject? Yes.
Thank you. My question is, when you have a manager,
Yes, or a supervisor.
we say you have a manager and leader.
Yeah.
When a supervisor is a manager, not a leader.
So, whether you use the word supervise or manage, we are relating that about the same tribe. So the question is simply between a manager and
The leader.
a leader. And I've told you the two are different. I showed you how many differences, a whole page of differences. And the most important of those is that a leader thinks long term, most of the time, whereas a manager tends to think about the stability and the profitability of the current organization. Number two, we say a leader thinks of his people as followers. Because of thinking of his followers, he will spend a lot of time getting a buy-in from the people. A manager thinks of people having tasks to do. And of course, like you were talking about, there is different types of leadership. There's a task manager and a people manager. None of them is good. Because a people manager is the type of person who will only think, who's that to this place? What's happening to her? What about the wife? The wife is pregnant. Now, that's a people manager. Because he's always thinking not about the task, but about the person doing it. The task manager only thinks about the task and does not want to care whether the wife is pregnant or not. Now, the leader needs to be doing something depending on the situation that is there. That's a leader. But when it comes to a manager, he says, I did not employ your wife, and I was not there when you married. It's likely to be in terms of, is the task being done? You said, I'm going on leave. My wife, I need paternity leave. Says, what's wrong with you? You go at this time, it will destroy the company. And obviously, if you go, you will be fired. That's a manager talking. As you are saying, sometimes the situation may force you to be a manager more than a leader. And you need to be appropriate to understand when is it best to act as a leader and when is it best to act as a manager. Am I answering your question?
I didn't finish my question, but you somehow calculated further.
Yeah.
So my question was, when your supervisor is a manager, he do not have any skills of leadership. He just have the skills of management. And he wants you to do the things, his style of doing things, not even his style of doing things. He wants to get it done with his own style. His style is, this should be a completion now from 8 to 9, he wants from 8 to 9. You don't bother whether you have some other things to do, that you need to do it before 8 to 9, and whatever he has given you, you do it from 10 to 11, or from maybe tomorrow. And if you do not deliver, because his way of doing things, he will presume you can't deliver.
Because he is not interested in the delivery. He is interested in whether you follow his instructions.
Yes.
Am I getting it?
Yes.
Now, what is the question?
So
That is the
how
problem.
you accommodate and you get it.
How do you accommodate a boss with like that?
Yes. You want to
Hey, please help me. I told you we are all in a workshop. That's why it's not a seminar days. Workshop, all of us must work. Help me. How do you deal with a manager like that? A boss like that? Which perspective of leadership should you apply? No, you're not a leader, you're a subordinate.
Yes.
How do you handle such a manager?
Well, I think there are many ways. I don't think there's any right or wrong answer. However, because this is he's
That's what he has chosen to be.
yes, he's stuck on the style of leadership, the style of delivery,
Yeah.
rather than. I would first of all ensure that what he wants done is very clear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
First of all, understand his instructions.
His instructions, because normally such managers even shift goalposts. So, why are you all laughing?
That guy is understanding you. That's what he's laughing.
You're not.
He's having to
I
understand.
was like that.
Yeah.
So I'm speaking from experience.
Yeah.
They shift goalposts a lot.
Yeah.
So it's called managing your manager.
Managing your manager. Yeah.
So it's to clarify and also clarify and seek congruence on how he wants it done. Unfortunately, the boss is the boss.
Yeah.
Yeah. So once there's congruence and he realizes that you're alluding to the way he wants things done, he may actually even tell you, no, do it that way, your way. But such a leader or manager, whatever it is, actually in some instances wants to ensure that his input is in what you're doing.
That's positive. That's positive.
Yes. So just by having the discussion and ensuring that his input, and I'll give an example. In
Without naming names.
No, I'm not naming names, and in fact, it's not something to do with the office.
Yeah.
You may want to paint a house, yeah, and normally it is the ladies who want the houses painted in certain colors. But who is financing it? Sometimes it is the husband, it is the boss. Yeah. And the boss, even if not going to choose those colors, he will want you to confer with him and have a discussion.
Yeah.
And you will ask him, okay, can we put yellow here? Can we put green here? It is your colors. But just that you have involved him, he will say yes, and there is peace, and you move on. You have managed that boss. And
so it is allowing.
Yes. And then such a manager needs a lot of
consultation.
Yeah, consultation, and also you're volunteering to keep on having discussions with him to ensure that you're still on the right track. You cannot wait for him or her to tell you, no, you did not do it my way. So frequent consultation and involvement. Exactly. When you have the appraisal discussions, no, don't wait for those. Frequent discussions and updates with him or her that you're actually on the right track.
Let me summarize what you're saying. Number one is the one he has done. Understand your boss. Know what he wants. Know how he works.
Yes.
Which you cannot know within a month. You are it wrong. That's the first thing. Because you can't do what he is recommending, you might do it on the wrong way. So why you can't have a movement? It's just me doing your job, why are you talking continuously? So you can't do that before you understand your boss. Step number two, that kind of a person she recommends, do not say, yes sir, tell him, this is what I hear you saying.
Yes.
Until you pin him down. My method, I don't know if it still works, was writing a file note. It's called note to the file. Whatever we have discussed, I write a file note. You know how it's copied to him, but not to him. So we met, and this is what we agreed to do. File note. Now, the next time you change the goalpost, you say, sir, I thought I gave you what we understood to be what you agreed. And if he is clever, he realizes Umafunga. If he doesn't want to be Funga, he will try the file note, although it's not supposed to be filed. If he doesn't, he has locked himself in. Second thing. The third thing, keep informing him continuously, which is disturbing, but that he enjoys it himself. It's the wrong method of working. But if he enjoys it, keep reporting back.
Yeah. So, and I think he also, such people like attention,
Uh-huh.
normally. So by going to see him, he feels that you have accorded him the status that is required. And especially, unfortunately, from my experience, if you seem smarter or you seem like you know so well what you're doing and you don't consult him, he feels that you're overstepping him or your bounds or...
It's called insecurity.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's the worst boss you can ever work on. An insecure boss.
But he's a boss. So
And you can be insecure for three reasons. One of them is competence. You think your opponent knows more than you. The other one is what is called short-sucking.
Yes.
Where as a CEO, you see them at what is this hotel called? Radisson Blue. You are past them, you see the two of them. He's your subordinate, and you see him talking to them. What happens to you? You feel insecure. You don't know what you are telling the boss. Number three, you feel insecure because the guy is rude to you. You feel like he's intending to destroy the atmosphere. Those are three things that will cause anybody to become the boss you are describing. So it's not always that he is a bad guy. There may be those three things that could cause him to get out there. But that's a very important question. Unfortunately, yes?
So now, the challenge we have,
Yeah.
how that can go now with modern management? Because as you say, when we start the conversation, you take an example to her,
Yeah.
which you said, if your boss come and tell you, oh, this company was not doing this since you joined, you feel that, well, yes, you have done something. Because you report it at 8, and maybe you close it at 5 or even 6 or 7. At the end of the day, and you are the part of top middle management, you need to feel, yes, your value has been now appreciated.
You need.
You.
As opposed to what you to need.
You as a middle manager or top.
Yeah. But our recommendation is, if you really don't want to resign, you had better work according to our recommendation. If you insist on your way, and it's during probation, then this guy, you know, it's much easier to fire you during probation, isn't it? So he will fire you during probation. Because chemistry, not competence. You remember the 3 C's? One of them is chemistry, the other one is competence. Now, if your chemistry can't work, it is what you test during probation. That guy should not last. If his chemistry is not right, even if his competence is right. So you need to be very careful. However, having told you what you can do, we must tell HR what to do about what you can do. You can't do much. HR can do something. He needs to bring you to a management course. And you overhear discussions like the current one. And you know they're talking about you. By the time you leave here, you hear how walikuwa naongea juu and the other.
Sir, don't if you box HR.
So
You're not going to box HR. What? Collective responsibility. And remember that we here are also those bosses. So these things we are speaking about, our bosses or our leaders doing, we should also not be doing them.
But you know, the person who invited me here is called HR. I'll give her the credit.
Okay.
Don't take away the credit.
No, I'll give her the credit. And I'm supporting you on that. However, it is more powerful when it comes collectively as an issue, not only for those who are above us, but also for us. So the things we should stop doing and the things we should start doing, I think at the end of this, they should be all clear for us.
Thank you very much. Now, the tea is available, but the time isn't. But I think we still must take the tea. But you need to know what I think this guy is.
Yes.
Yeah, because at your level, it's not what I'm showing there that matters. It's this discussion, and it's very, very, very important. But if you are saying one solution to this problem is discussing like this, whether with an outside facilitator or without. So that people, it's called, I normally call it, my madam, I normally call it, it's called group therapy.
Yeah, this one.
Where you don't identify a particular person, you are talking generally, but compare it is therapy. As they use that phrase, they are healed. But there was nobody who admitted they were sick. Thank you very much. So we have just 15 minutes.
Group therapy.
We should be seated by 11.
Yeah.